Hello and welcome everybody to this is going to be a spotlight on Modern a little bit. I've got a PTQ coming up personally in the beginning of February that I'm going to be playing in Portland, and I kind of wanted to go over on our website and our channel the deck that I've been working with lately and why I recommend playing it, and also do a spotlight on the card Izzet Charm, which we'll go over in a second here. This is the list that I've currently been running in 1v1 queues that I've actually been really, really happy with. When I first picked up Rug Delver a while back, this was like 5 months ago or so, maybe 6 months. I'm not sure how long ago. It was a while ago. I really liked the deck for a while. Then I feel like it got hated out by a lot of like the Jund decks out there. Just got really popular. Jund has changed quite a bit, and it kind of got less good for a little while. And I feel like now that the metagame is kind of evolving, people are trying new things. I feel like the metagame is actually slowing down a little bit because people are figuring out how to utilize some of the more expensive cards like Restoration Angel, and even Lingering Souls is kind of a slow card, especially against like combo decks or like Infect or something like that. Uh, I've been really happy with this deck. I'm one of the a few of the things I'll go over that are unique in this deck. One of the things that doesn't really make this totally Rug Delver is the Geist of St. Draft and the Path to Exile. Path is something that Rug Delver has been, an effect like this has been something that we've been in demand of for quite a while. I tried Dismember, but the paying the 4 life when you're already paying the 2 life for all of these, the fetch lands and the shock lands, it's just a little rough. Obviously, you have to play Hallowed Fountain, so it is still rough on your life total. I played Lightning Helixes for a while, but Lightning Helix, it didn't deal with. It still didn't deal with the problem of things that have bigger than 3 toughness, because we could already deal with that with Bolt, but Path allows us to hit Goyfs that grow beyond a 2/3, which is pretty common that they get bigger than that. And I also have been so impressed by Geist of St. Traft in Modern that I really wanted to try him since I was going to be playing White anyways. I really wasn't happy with Vendilion Click in this deck because of the rising popularity of Lingering Souls. So I think if you're still playing Click, then you might want to, I don't know, maybe just second guess that. It is just a little vulnerable right now. There's not a huge amount of card advantage with Click. Like, yes, you get to have a little control over their hand and your hand, but there's no card advantage in that card. It's still just 3/1 flyer for 3, so I kind of wanted to play something a little more powerful with Geist of St. Draft, and also having access to very powerful removal with the Path to Exile. You'll also notice the 2-burst lightnings, so those are mainly there for Deathrite Shamans. Deathrite Shaman I'm going to talk about as well. Actually, we can talk about that right now. Going into Izzet Charm in the deck, one of the reasons I love Izzet Charm is because it deals with Deathrite Shaman. Because a while back when I first picked up Rug Delver, I would have recommended that if you're looking for a deck to play in Modern, I would highly recommend that you play one that is not weak against combo decks like Storm and Deceiver Exarch are the 2 number 1 examples out there in Modern right now. There's also Eggs and all those other ones, but and now the metagame's evolved since the Deathrite Shaman has been printed, because that card is so good in Modern. Like, if I don't know if there's a card that's really like dominating the format like Jason Mind Sculptor did when he was in Standard, or same thing with Stoneforge Mystic or Fairies or anything like that. But I do think that if you were to name like a number 1 best card in Modern right now, I think Deathrite Shaman is definitely one of the leading contenders. And this is the reason. So I would recommend right now that you play a deck that is still not weak against combo, but you also want to play a deck that's either playing with Deathrite Shaman or is not weak to Deathrite Shaman. And this is the reason that I really love Izzet Charm, is because it does both of those things. Being able to counter non-creature spells or Spell Pierce is extremely powerful against combo. Being able to kill Deathrite Shaman is something that you need to be doing. So Izzet Charm also does that. And Rug Control, on top of that, was even having trouble. When Jund was so popular, the reason that Rug Control really couldn't get a hold of those games is because Jund just had too much card advantage. Izzet Charm allows you to be ripping lands late game, but as soon as you get like that Snapcaster and you can use the draw 2 discard 2 to filter those cards for, or filter those lands for real cards, you can really easily take control of a game with, you know, more powerful effects like Vidalcan Shackles and stuff like that. So Izzet Charm, I remember a long time ago, I even, when I was doing videos on this, I had Faithless Looting in the deck. And I'm really glad that they put the Faithless Looting effect on Izzet Charm, because it really just, it gives you everything you need in the metagame right now. The card advantage, the being good against combo, and also being able to deal with Deathrite Shaman. I'm considering going up to 3. I'm not really sure what I would cut. Probably be a Burst or a Spell Pierce, because they kind of play the same role just for cheaper anyways. But I'm not sure on that. Izzet Charm is a card it's very, very, very good right now. And I guess that's all I can really say about it. So going to the sideboard, you still see the Ancient Grudges. There used to be 4, but I cut back on 1 because I just don't see Affinity that often. On top of that, we added Paths and 2 Bursts and 2 Izzet Charms to the deck. So the Ancient Grudges, obviously we have more removal, so we just don't need as many of them. I'd say that 2 of those Ancient Grudges in the sideboard there are to deal with artifacts in general, and the 3rd Ancient Grudge is there just because Affinity is a deck, and you really want a high number of Ancient Grudge when you're fighting against them. I'm actually going to go over back to Nature last. The Spell Pierce for combo. The Spell Snare it's really good against Snapcaster. It's really good against America Delver style decks. It's also great against combo. So the Spell Snare really plays multiple roles. I also side this in against Jund when I'm on the draw, and sometimes keep him in when I'm on the play as well. Huntmaster is a great anti-aggro card. If you're just looking to play a fair game with somebody, like there's a new mono-black discard deck out there that just kind of Inquisitions and Wrench Mines your whole entire hand. And cards like Huntmaster are great because they dodge the Inquisition, and on top of that, when you play them, they have to deal with the Huntmaster and also deal with the Wolf, and it's really hard for them to keep up. He's a really good source of card advantage. You can kind of think of Huntmaster as a Bloodbraid Elf and Jund. The only reason we can't play Bloodbraid Elf is just because we're playing, you know, cards like Mana Leak, so that's just not viable. The Surgical Extraction in here isn't actually for any specific decks out there. I'd say if you had to give it to a specific deck, it would probably be Reanimator, using the Goryo's Vengeance. The problem with Rug Delver is it doesn't really have access to a ton of graveyard hate because we don't want to be playing Relic of Progenitus, because it exiles our own graveyard. We also don't want to be playing Tormod's Crypt or the Relic because they're artifacts, and we would much rather be playing spells to flip our Delvers and be able to Snapcast them. So Surgical is a nice little free option that you kind of, there are certain times where like you're sideboarding against combo or something like that, and you just realize like, well, Vidalcan Shackles and Path are just dead cards, so I'll put in an extra Surgical just to, like, if you want a Surgical, they're Past in Flames, it can be useful there. And probably not as good there as it is against Reanimator, but still a fine card to have access to, just since we are a little weak on our graveyard hate. The Negate is for combo. I really like the one of Negate. I actually I had 2 here that I was trying out, and I was really happy with 2. If you want to run 2, that's totally fine. But there's a new, and I hate saying this because I feel like it's such a joke, but there's a new Slippery Boggle deck out there that runs a ton of auras, and basically they just play 1/1 hexproof dudes for 1 or 2, and they'll suit them up and with it's some like 3/3 in lifelink. It doesn't matter what the card is, but basically they just suit up a bunch of hexproof dudes, or one hexproof dude to being huge, and then they smash you to death with him. And so that's why I really wanted to bring in the Spellskite, because they play a ton of auras, so just being able to redirect all the auras. Spellskite is also great against Splinter Twin and Infect, so he plays multiple roles there. And I'd also bring this guy in against Red Deck Wins, I think, as well. The Back to Nature is for the same reason. This used to be a Nature's Claim, but since it destroys all of the auras, and it still just kills enchantments in general just for 1 more, and it destroys all of them, so it's a little more powerful than Nature's Claim in that sense. These 2 cards are both in here for the Slippery Boggle deck, and then I have the Bonfire as my last card in the deck. This is an effect that we've always wanted to have access to, because Lingering Souls is a problem, and also Soul Sisters playing a bunch of their Spectrals and Squadron Hawks can be a big problem. So just having a one-sided Wrath for 1 or 2 damage is something that we don't really have. The best representation